Within this video, we're going to go ahead and work through the UEFN virtual exhibit importing images lesson guide. So you can go ahead and follow along in the video, and of course you can follow along in the documentation as well. Now before we start, I do want to point out that we do actually have assets that you can use down here inside of the content drawer. To access them, simply open up the content drawer and then go into the example assets folder you see right here. And in this one, we actually have a texture folder right here. And you can use these two textures here after we get through the importing part of this video. So now let's go ahead and actually walk through importing assets into the engine. So to do that, go ahead and open up the content drawer, and we're going to keep this nice and organized. So I'm going to go ahead and right click in a blank area down here in the bottom right and go ahead and choose new folder. And we're going to go ahead and name this new folder images. Next, go ahead and just double click on this to open it up. And this is the folder that's going to house all of the images that we're going to be importing in it. Now you can take these from anywhere, be it your phone or perhaps even some interesting stuff on the internet. So what we want to do is go ahead and right click inside of this area and then come to the very top where it says import and then navigate to where your images are. We can actually select all of these, so I can select one, hold shift and select another one, and then come down here and just say open. There we have it. Now we've actually just imported a couple images here into the engine that we can use for our exhibit. Our next step is to make sure that these images will actually work when we send them over to Fortnite Creative and play them in the game. And sometimes when they come in, they're way too big. If anything's actually larger than 2048 by 2048, a 2K texture, it's not actually going to go into the engine as of this recording. And we can tell how big they are if we hover over one of these. And if you look inside of the dimensions right here, you can see that this is above 2048 by 2048, a 2K texture. So we need to address that. So let's go ahead and change one of them, and I'll let you go ahead and change all the rest of them on your own. So to change the texture size, let's go ahead and just double click on it to open it up. And we're going to get a new window, and this is actually our texture editor window. And up here in the right hand side where it says MIP Gen settings, mine is currently set to no MIP maps. So we need to change that from no MIP maps. So we'll go ahead and click on this and change this to the first option here that says from texture group, like so. Now what we can do is make sure that we save our work. There's a little save button up here in the top left hand corner. We'll click on that. And we can close the window by clicking on this little X right here. And now when we come back here, if we right click on this and then come and choose resize texture import data, it will actually change how big this is. So if I hover over this, now you can see that the dimensions are much smaller than 2048 by 2048. So perfect. This is actually going to work inside of our game. So from here, go ahead and do this to all the rest of your images if they are too large. And before you actually move on anywhere, make sure you do a save all. So come up here into File, and then come down here to Save All to make sure that everything that you've just done has actually been saved into the project. We're now ready to add these images into our world. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and move to a different room. So I'm just going to right click and drag here just to make sure that the viewport is active, and then press the 3 key on the keyboard just to move to this room. Now before we add anything into this room, I do want to toggle on a feature, and it lives right here, this little arc with 3 little arrows on it. It's going to actually snap these frames to the walls and make our lives a whole lot easier. So go ahead and click on this, and I want to toggle on this surface snapping. And just below it, I'm also going to toggle on rotate to surface normal. Now we can go ahead and start to add our frames. So let's open up the content drawer, and we'll make sure that we navigate to this folder right here, the very top one. It says virtual exhibit. And from here, we're going to go into the project assets folder. So go ahead and just double click on this one. And inside of here, we're actually looking for the frames folder. So we'll go ahead and double click on this. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and use this one right here, this S-frame to land. So it's a landscape or a portrait. And I'm going to just click and drag this into the world and then let go. Now, if yours comes in a little bit sideways, like this one should, like so, you're going to need to go ahead and rotate it. So up here inside of the gizmo for our rotations, we're going to go ahead and make sure that this rotation snap is toggled off, and that we're using the rotation tool. And now we go and just turn this like so. And the frame is now set up against the wall and ready to have the textures added to it. And here's the fun part, because the engine is actually going to do a little bit of work for us, and I'll explain what that is. So with this one selected, I'm going to press the F key on the keyboard just to zoom in on it. And I'm going to rotate my camera here just by holding down Alt and left mouse clicking and dragging anywhere on the screen, as long as I'm not dragging on the gizmo. And down here in the content drawer, let's go ahead and open this up. Let's go back to our images. And I'm going to go ahead and take my horizontal one here and click and drag this onto the picture section of this frame and let go. And if I get lucky, hey, it was right side up. Cool. I'm going to rotate this just a little bit because it is a little bit off. So there we have it. We have now added the texture onto this frame. Now the thing that the engine did that I was just talking about is it actually created an asset right here. This is a material. And you can drop this material onto anything at this point. You don't actually have to drag any of the textures anymore. This material was created automatically by the engine when we added that texture to that surface of the frame. But wait, there's more. And I'm sure you're all thinking, well, this little checkerboard gray thing is not so pretty and I don't like it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and replace that. Inside of the actual engine assets, we do have a few more pieces that we can play with. So I'm going to click on this folder right here that says materials. And we're going to go into the plastics. And inside of here, we have a whole host of colors that we can use. And it's just like we did with the textures, but in this case, they're materials. So let's say we want to add something really bright. I'm going to go ahead and use this purple right here. Click and drag, and I'm going to drag and make sure that while I'm letting go of this, my cursor is hovering over that specific surface, in this case, the frame. And when I let go, hey, now we got a purple. Now, if you ever want to replace this, this is actually really easy to do because we can just open up that content drawer, go ahead and grab a different one, click and drag it on here, and then let go, and it just instantly replaces it. And just so you know, you can actually do this just about anywhere inside of this virtual exhibit. For example, if we do this on the walls, I'm going to go ahead and just open up the content drawer again. Let's say we want the top of this to be kind of a cyan. I'm going to click and drag and make sure that I'm on the top half of this wall and then let go. And hey, that one's now cyan. And if we look at the bottom of this, we can go ahead and add in a material as well. Let's say we want something like let's use this magenta here. We'll click and drag and drop that there. This works for just about everything inside of this virtual exhibit. So by all means, go through and decorate this the way you need it for your exhibit to make it match the aesthetic that you're looking for. So there you have it. Now you know how to import images into the engine from an external source, say the internet or your phone, as well as add frames so that you can actually frame said images and change any of the materials on the frame or anything inside of the exhibit as well, such as the walls, the floors, the pillars. And you can even do this to the Fortnite assets. Just be aware that it may change the entire asset instead of just specific parts of it.